Hello and welcome back. This is my third week of NaNoWriMo and I'm keeping up. Yay! I have not fallen behind. I have gotten my 1,667 words per day, even if with all my procrastinating last Sunday, I end up finishing at like 3 a.m. This was not a good week for me focusing. I did not start my words until after 11, all except for like Friday and yesterday. But during the school week, work week, I was definitely getting to my words pretty darn late. But you know, it happens. So I am at 37,524 words. Oh wait, no, that was end of last night. I got a couple words in during my word sprint. I am at 38,304. So I've got about 1,000 left tonight. So hopefully that goes pretty smoothly. I think I figured out where my next scene is going. I've decided to put a couple more relationships in there, just people she's dealing with, because I'm a complete idiot. I already have 18 family members. I am already juggling regular time. The fact that the planet they're on is faster than standard human standard, and the fact that interstellar travel slows time down for the people traveling. So I'm juggling a lot of it. I do love spreadsheets. I don't think I created my story in order to have an excuse to make more spreadsheets, but you never know. So hello, Spence, and welcome. Hello, Doc. I did indeed get some food, so I'm nomming, or I was nomming before I went live. If this is your first time, I am working on a fantasy in space. I have my main character, and she and her family, for right now, live on an alien world that belongs to sentient octopus people who fly through the aether of the solar system, being pulled by space manta rays. One of these days, I'm going to come up with a better name for them than space manta rays. But right now, every time I mention them, that's 3 additional words. So for now, that name is going to be pretty consistent. I am stretching myself. I'm typically very focused on what's happening in the main character's head and what they're doing, like plot and internal monologue. But for this, I want a fairy tale in space. So I'm trying to be more lyrical. It is not my natural voice, but I think this story deserves it, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with it. My first week, if you click and check out my rant, was entirely world building and info dumps. Last week went a little better. This week, I kind of feel like I'm in stasis. I'm building to stuff. I'm a plantser, but I went off the rails week 1 because I didn't like my outline. But my outline is so high level that if you kind of like squint, I'm still sort of following it, because I am basing my story on fairy tales. And so they have this built-in structure. So that's at least lending some sort of plan to my writing. I am not fully pantsing this, because that's not my comfort zone at all. But I'm getting words in. So Kelly asks, what does lyrical mean? Rhyming? Not precisely. Lyrical is those stories that you read where there's a lot of lovely prose describing the things, and they just have nifty turns of phrases, but it tends to be really kind of wordy and descriptive, and just it's not quite purple prose, but it sometimes leans more on the tempo and the word feel and the rhythm of the words, where the less lyrical stuff I typically write is more focused on other things, because not that I don't have descriptions, it's just that's how it goes. Doc has been suggesting I go with the sense of wonder, and I'm definitely trying to build that in, but it's hard mixing wanting a sense of wonder with also wanting her, and it's also hard mixing wanting a sense of wonder and 18 family members with wanting her to feel lonely and isolated and struggling. So I'm trying to build that in, but I have trouble being mean to my characters. If there's like a nasty way I could go, I keep veering into making them nice people or understandable people that she's interacting with, and not just mean for mean's sake, because I have trouble understanding people who are mean for mean's sake, and that's I've been blessed to have supportive family and supportive friends and very little betrayal in my real life, and so I find that comes out a lot in my writing. Part of why I think that fantasy really calls to me is because not that there's plenty of betrayal in fantasy, but in other genres they like to be a little grittier, and in fantasy, especially if you're trying to stay true to like the fairy tale sort of thing, writing a character who is sweet and nice and wants the best and thinks the best of everyone isn't a stretch. Fits in with the genre, and that's definitely kind of my wheelhouse. So Doc asked if I like the story any better now. I'm not sure. I like some parts of it, but I'm gonna have to see what the full picture is. And for me as a writer, that's why I write. I mean, even when I do have a more coherent plan than this, I have this vague idea of characters and worlds and some of the struggles they're going to go into. And I have to write the story so I can find out exactly who they are, how they get past these things, and how it turns out, because I don't know. And if I don't write the story, I'll never find out, because it won't exist in anything other than conceptual fragments in my head. So that's why I write, so I can find out what happens to these characters. So Doc helped with the lyrical styles go back to when stories were sung instead of read. For me, the main writer that I call out is McKillip, Patricia McKillip, I think. She has very lyrical prose. Sunshine is her favorite of the stories I've read, but I have to be in the right mindset to read it, because the description and the lyrical prose is just a little thick at times. And so, but she has beautifully described worlds and characters and settings, and it's lovely stuff, and it works really well for fairy tale sort of tales. So Doc says some people are mean because there is no advantage for them being nice. And I understand that. I have run into people who were mean or didn't like me or whatever for whatever reason, but it's not. One of my two superpowers is being able to justify almost anything. So when someone is snappy or mean, I'm like, oh, they're probably hangry, or it's because they didn't get enough sleep, or they're really frustrated because things haven't worked out for them. And, you know, so my other superpower is putting things back in the original packaging. So, but as a writer, I find the first superpower more useful. But I think next time I write a story, I'm gonna have to write a villain, because I haven't done villains. I usually go up across man versus nature, or that man versus organization like the government or whatever, rather than an individual. And so I think I need a more personal antagonist. So Doc says, the world also has lots of people who are sorry this happened to you, but can't help. Peace out. Good luck. And that's true. That's definitely true, because they have their own things to deal with. So I think I really need to get some sort of feeling of there's this huge thing that she's struggling to overcome that may or may not happen. And I keep clearing the path for her. So I need to stop clearing the path and start making her work for it a little bit more. So I will have to brainstorm on that. But at least I know where my next scene is going. So that's that. Spence says, having a villain you can really agree with, support, justify makes for really fun stuff. And definitely, I love stories when I read about villains that you understand why they are, and you can't fault them for most of their choices. And villainy can really be a slippery slope one for people. Which now makes me think maybe if I can't write a villain, I could write a person who is a villain and just doesn't see herself that way. That could be fun. But I'm writing this story right now. Doc says she needs a rival in class. She's a little rivalry in class. She definitely is. They're competitive, but he also gave her a ride. So, you know, they're cooperative but competitive, because it's 3 humans being taught by a sentient octopus. And so they want to make sure that the humans are well represented, so they're not actively sabotaging each other, at least not yet. There's no reason to yet. So I'll definitely something to think about. Spence says, my villain is actively trying to help the protagonist succeed in life. Aw, there's also the villain that is, you know, the parental figure or whatever, who wants what's best, but is pretty sure it's this rather than what they actually want. So that's a kind of villain I think I could probably wrap my head around. Doc suggested an octopod rival. I think they need to get into space first. And before they get into space, first they have to do some deep dives. And before they do some deep dives, first the octopus would like to be really sure that they're capable swimmers before taking them on a deeper dive, because he doesn't want to be the one to have lost all the human apprentices in month 2 of training. So today we're doing the shallow dive, and next month we're going to do the deep dive, and then we're going to go into space. So that's how that's worked out. And I'm trying to build up some love interest, and I think I wanted a love interest to peace outs. I think I am leaning in towards the ace main character and having her be ace romantic. So she wants the romantic relationship, but when things get more complicated, she's like, this isn't what I'm looking for, and have it not work out. So that's definitely, I just need to decide who's a good partner for her. So yeah. Oh, in Spence's story, the antagonist lays down his life so she can be the winner in their battle. Aww. He's also melded consciousness with a sentient library / eldritch terror who has killed dozens of people and fed their souls to the building or just bound them there because he just didn't like them. It sounds like a modern fairy tale. Doc's got on the back burner. An antagonist is someone who thinks they're protecting the character. Yeah. I like complicated villains. I don't like the black and white ones. I don't like the ones that are evil for evil's sake or evil because of some bad incident and now they're getting back at people. Because, yeah, there are people like that, but they're not interesting. So for Doc's story, he says the villain just hangs around and makes comments right before the protagonist makes a mistake. So it's actually more of a mentor. Kelly asks that I describe my characters and like a visualization of the octopus people. I've modeled them after real octopi. They have, the 8 limbs with the back 2 being sturdier, that they kind of use like legs. They can walk, but typically they don't. There are waterways where they swim or jet through places. And they also, because they use the manta rays to get around, have ones that will fly them around town in a basin that they can like have their tentacles around, but also not dry out because you don't want to dry out when you're an octopus person. The world is like 90 or more % water with a few islands and stuff where the humans have their harbors and things like that. So a lot of the octopus people will lay their eggs though in the shallow grounds where it's easier to guard them. So and they change color. So, I mean, they look like, it's hard to describe them because they do change color. They redden when they're pleased. They purple when they're, I have to look at my notes. They purple when they're questioning and they turn a rocky texture. They blue or they turn pale when they're relaxed, and they turn orange when they're giving orders or warning other people. When they do go up on land, they usually wear an uau, which is kind of like a poncho. It's got a circle so their eyes can pop out of the mantle, and it's got sleeves for each of the tentacles, but it kind of just drapes over their mantle and it holds moisture to them so they don't dry out. The fabric stretches, so when they reach with their tentacles, it stretches with them. And so the humans on the planet have a similar upper body garment that they wear. And the octopus people love bright colors and patterns and things like that. So they're typically either bright colors or geometric patterns because that's what the octopus people like. So Doc called it an octopus skin suit. The arm bits kind of are, but the other part just kind of drapes over them and protects them from the sun. Kelly was thinking they were more humanoid with 8 limbs. I thought about that, and then I decided that's not where I wanted to go. So I do love the like pictures of the walking octopus people with like top hats looking very Victorian. And that wasn't not my inspiration. I do love the fact that the octopus can change direction without rotating and can see in any direction because their eyes are kind of on stalks. And I love the fact that they can fit through any hole that their beak can fit through. So I thought really hard about the effect of gravity on them. And so when they go up, they're in a pod and it's filled with water and they're pulled by the space manta rays. I Instead of making the space manta ray bioengineered, which is where I was originally, I've determined that according to the octopus people, I've called them Ricarians because we named their planet Rika. According to them, the space manta rays decided that their planet was a good breeding ground, and so that's how they ended up getting to space. Is these creatures from outer space decided their planet was a good breeding ground, and so the young space manta rays can swim through the water, and as they get older, they can swim through the air, and as they get older, they can swim out of the atmosphere, and as they get older, they can swim through the aether of the solar system, and as they get older, they can swim through plasma like suns and eat the creatures that live there, and that gives them enough energy that they can actually have enough energy to sail through the void of space itself, not on the ether, and cut distances off that way. So I like it. I love the visuals. I just need to decide if, their ships are kind of like tubs with a lid or just kind of like a bowl. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So they are moderately sentient. They, especially the older ones, but they just don't think like we do. So yeah. Doc asks, is it a symbiotic relationship with space rays? Yes. Yes, it is. Or a partnership with another sentient species. They're smarter than dogs or African greys. But yeah, I think they enjoy having friends and companions that will feed them, and they like having places that people want to go and helping out. I don't know. I need to think more about what caused that relationship in the first place. So thank you for these great thoughts. Do you have any more questions? If not, I probably should get my words in for today. Kelly asks if they are as intelligent and social as whales. The space manta rays, yes, definitely, 100%. They live in squadrons in my world, and they carry the Ricarian space pods with effectively in like dog teams is what my brain kind of has it as. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I love the world building part, although not in a I should write a D&D settings manual level of love. Kelly says he likes the Ricarian name. Thank you. I named 3 other planets this week: Tigris 8, Juanita, and New Pluto. So I usually hate names, but I'm pretty proud of those. I'm definitely enjoying those names. So let's see. Doc says it does go back to what we said about making sure the ship likes you before you can get a crew. Yes, that's part of what they're doing this week, is getting familiar with the space manta rays, because if you can't get along with space manta rays, you can't pilot a Ricarian ship. So you've got to get along with the race, or exactly. And Spence says, is there a vegan problem with the octopus people who are against using the space manta rays? That's not how they think. The ocean is an eat or be eaten world. Even for their young, they lay eggs in strings of like 100. Not as many as current octopus, but they do care for their young and they do raise them, but they don't expect them all to make it. So there's definitely some closer to nature. They do have, water pools that are carefully filtered and only certain animals are allowed in and that sort of thing. But they're not perfect. They're not perfect. So Doc asks, it sounds like the Rays aren't doing anything against their own will. That's correct. They only the ones who like hanging out with the Ricarians will even sign on for it. So yeah, Doc says it sounds like a cool story. Thank you. I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying building this world and this societies, multiple societies. I have the people who grow up on ships. They're called shippers. I have planet-side people. So the Ricarian humans have only been on Rika for like 2, maybe 3 generations. And of course, there's the octopus people themselves, and there's the other places they go to trade with. And so I know originally I was thinking of making my main character a pilot. I believe I may not have mentioned she's now going to be a navigator, which makes a lot more sense for crossover. She grew up on a family ship. The sails burned out, and she's got to wait another 10 years before they can afford to replace the sails. So she wants to learn a skill that will be useful, excuse me, on her ship. So she applies and she gets an apprenticeship with the Ricarians to learn to be a space navigator, because while they have different priorities, they've got to feed them versus fuel up. The aether flows and ebbs are in the same places as are the planets, as is the navigation. So yeah, it's been really interesting and really fun coming out with the cultural differences, and making her a navigator, I think, really was a good fit, because that's something you can train on a bio ship versus a mechanical ship and have it almost translate reasonably well. So yeah, thank you all for coming, and I'll be back again next Sunday after the holiday with hopefully, since I'm running about a day ahead, I should be done this time next week or within spitting distance of it. So if you are working on NaNoWriMo, good luck, and I hope it goes well. If not, have a lovely month anyway. And if you're in the States, have a lovely Thanksgiving. Thank you all for coming, and see you again next week. Bye-bye.